All right, everyone. God Valley continues to unfold as one of the most haunting and legendary flashbacks in all of One Piece. Each new chapter feels less like a reveal and more like the unlocking of a secret history, an event so pivotal that even the world government has tried to erase every trace of it. And in this latest chapter, Oda gave us something monumental, something that practically confirms, at least for me, that Imu will appear at God Valley. But before I connect those dots, let's peel back the layers piece by piece. The first highlight, Garp's true place in history. We've always heard that Garp was terrifyingly strong. Titles like Hero of the Marines, whispers about how he and Roger nearly killed each other countless times, these were hints. But hints leave space for doubt, and I'll admit, even I underestimated him. Roger was the Pirate King. Whitebeard was the world's strongest man. Rox was painted as a monster commanding a crew of demons who would later become Yonko. So where exactly did Garp fit in? He was always nearby in the story, but rarely at the center of it. That changes here. At God Valley, Oda strips away all ambiguity. We see Roger and Rox arrive with fleets, entourages, and crews packed with legendary names. And then there's Garp. No admiral backup, no fleet of his own, just himself, rolling up alone. One man against the monsters of the sea. And what's truly chilling is how the legends themselves, Roger and Rox, react. They don't laugh. They don't dismiss him. They recognize that Garp, with nothing but his fists and his will, is an army unto himself. And now we see why. Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido, the very titans who would go on to shape the new world, ran from him. They weren't testing him. They weren't curious. They were genuinely in retreat. That's not hype, that's fact. And remember, Garp has no devil fruit, no legendary sword, no divine artifact. His weapon is his body, hardened through decades of battles and fueled by haki so overwhelming that even elemental forces like Zeus and Prometheus couldn't scratch him. He is the purest form of human willpower forged into strength. What does that tell us? That Oda deliberately held back this reveal for over 1,000 chapters, waiting for God Valley, the event where Marines and pirates collided with the fate of the world, to finally show us Garp's true ceiling. But as impressive as Garp is, he is just one piece of this puzzle. Now we turn to the God's Knights. They're not just ceremonial guards of the celestial dragons, they're something darker. And in this chapter, Oda dropped something very curious, the beam weapon used by one of their female warriors. At first glance, it looks identical to the Pacifista laser, which we know was modeled after Kizaru's devil fruit. But here, the problem, God Valley happened nearly 4 decades ago. Pacifista technology didn't exist yet. So how is this possible? There are 2 options. First option is the world government had this power long before Vegapunk invented it. That would mean we've been lied to about the timeline of technological progress. And option second is this wasn't tech at all. It was a devil fruit. And if that's the case, then the woman we saw may very well have been the original user of what would later become Kizaru's light fruit. Which begs a terrifying question. Does the world government curate the cycle of devil fruits? Do they recover them upon the user's death and assign them to loyal servants? Is Kizaru's power just the modern inheritor of a tool passed down by the regime for generations? And if so, what other fruits have been recycled this way, hidden from the wider world until the government decides to unleash them again? This is where the mystery thickens, because if the God's Knights already had access to power on this scale decades ago, then perhaps Imu's forces have always been in play, just in the shadows, where history refuses to record them. Shanks, Shamrock, and the nature of evil. Another subtle but massive moment this chapter is the separation of the twins, Shanks and Shamrock. Oda is clearly setting up a narrative mirror, 2 genetically identical children, raised in radically different worlds. One nurtured by Roger and the freedom of the seas. One raised under Garling and the suffocating cruelty of the celestial dragons. This isn't just a backstory twist. It's a philosophical question. Is evil born or is it made? One Piece has always leaned toward the idea that love, kindness, and freedom shape who we become. From Luffy's village upbringing to Nami's rescue from Arlong, the story emphasizes nurture over nature, which is why I fear one possible cop-out. If Oda blames Shamrock's cruelty versus Shanks' compassion on something as trivial as a bump on the head, then he avoids the heavier moral question. But if he keeps it focused on environment versus innate character, then this twin divergence becomes a powerful commentary on the celestial dragons themselves. Imagine the message, that even they are not inherently evil but twisted by the gilded cage they call home. And if Shamrock embodies that corruption, then Shanks, existence proves that change, however improbable, is always possible. A love story amid the chaos. And then there's the human heart of the chapter, Rayleigh and Shaki. Oda lets their bond blossom not through words but through action. Shaki suffers. Rayleigh steps in, not with struggle but with ease, crushing her tormentor as though swatting a fly. And in that quiet moment, amidst a battlefield of gods and demons, two people find each other. It's classic Oda, romance not told but shown. And seeing their modern-day relationship through the lens of this flashback makes it all the more poignant. Why Imu must arrive at God Valley. And now, we arrive at the core mystery. Why do I believe Imu is coming here? Because narratively, the story is at a crossroads. Roger's crew has achieved their goal in this flashback. They've saved Shaki. They've completed their immediate task. If this were the end, God Valley would be nothing more than a daring rescue mission. But history tells us otherwise. We know God Valley ended in a cataclysm. We know Garp and Roger fought side by side against rocks. And we know this event was deemed so dangerous, so taboo, that the world government erased the island itself. So what's missing? The catalyst, the factor that transforms a skirmish into a legendary war. That catalyst is Imu. Think about it. This entire flashback began with Imu being positioned as the true final villain, the force above the celestial dragons. Rocks may be terrifying, but he is still mortal. Imu, however, is something beyond, a shadow that's haunted the world for centuries. For God Valley to become the event it's remembered as, Imu must step onto the stage. The happy ending must be interrupted. The tension must skyrocket. And for the first time in history, the rulers of the void must reveal themselves, if only for a moment. And when that happens, Roger's Haki bloom, Garp's legend, and the alliance that no one ever expected, pirate and marine standing shoulder to shoulder, will all make sense. Because against Imu, against the will of the void, even enemies must unite. Final thoughts. This chapter is more than just a 10 out of 10. It's a masterclass in setup. Garp's legend is cemented. The gods' knights are revealed as more than ceremonial relics. The Shamrock divide raises profound questions about good and evil, and the faint shadow of Imu draws closer with every page. The pieces are aligning. The Battle of God Valley is not just a clash of pirates and marines. It is the moment the true enemy revealed themselves. And if history was erased, it's because what was seen here was never meant to be remembered. If you enjoyed sailing through this sea of mysteries with me, then hoist your Jolly Roger and hit that subscribe button. Don't let this adventure end here, because the next island we land on might just hold the greatest treasure yet. So join the crew, and let's chase the One Piece together.